Welcome back to Centre Court with thanks to OMF. Kick back and relax with an adjustable bed from Australian design and owned OMF. Watch sport your way. And Cobram Estate, Australia's most awarded extra virgin olive oil, grown, harvested and first cold pressed in northern Victoria. Welcome to Centre Court. I'm Bianca Chatfield and Madi Brown. The OG team is back. Great to have you back, Madi.
Thanks, B. Good to be back.
Busy week and a bit of an upset in the results.
Honestly, it just shows in this competition so much can happen in a week. I think maybe a week or two we were saying that Giants had under 1% of chance to even ruffle anyone's feathers, let alone, come up to even capacity now to potentially maybe push up high that ladder. So, as I said, anything can happen in a week and you've got to be making sure that you put your best performances forward.
Well, round 9 it was. Let's take a look at the OMF overview. Watch sport your way. Now, this is the ladder as it sits. Obviously, there's not as many changes with this ladder, but now the Vixens have cracked into that top 4 with thanks to the Thunderbirds losing to the Giants. Everyone else has stayed the same, even with that result with the Fever getting that win over the Swifts. But of course, the Fever lost their first 2 games of the season. The Swifts now have only dropped 1. They say they're relieved, right, that they haven't gone through the season undefeated, that it's a loss potentially they needed to have. Do you believe that as a team that's flying at the top?
I don't think you should have to have a win to learn those lessons. I think you learn as much from your wins as you do your losses. But I do think on the Swifts, I think they'd be sitting there going, you know what? It's probably good that we've had that now rather than that built-up pressure going, when are they, could they? We've seen teams go through the season undefeated and then go bang, bang out in finals. So, maybe that's a bit of a, pressure release. But I think, as I said, I don't think teams should have to rely on a loss just to make those learnings. Because I think it's been kind of bubbling away for the last few weeks for the Swifts. I think it just finally came to a head with a loss. Yeah,
Fever seem to be getting better and better every game. The Swifts have just had a few hiccups in the last couple of weeks. Let's take a look at our team of the week. And what is pleasing to me is just some different players that we continue to see start to perform now that we might not have seen in the first half of the season. Sophie Dwyer, for one, she got some good numbers, Mads.
She did. I've banged on about this triple-double and finally, Sophie Dwyer hits it, and there she is in the team of the week. She had 32 from 33, 16 centre pass receives, double the volume, everything. She just played the perfect goal attack role. Jordan Cransberg, I thought she was amazing for the Fever as well. She had 27 out of 30 goal assists to feeds. I talk about that efficiency as well. That is huge numbers. You also can't go past Janelle Fallon-Emmard. 71 from 72% to attempts at 98%. She's just a game winner. So if people say that, she's not the difference for the Fever, no, I won't have it. She absolutely is. And you look at it and you think, where do we get ball? Where are teams going to kind of get that opportunity against her? Because, Alice Teague-Neal was exceptional. The people around her are exceptional. So
Katie-Ann Dehaney in defence, brilliant.
Yeah.
And, 2 standouts for me in the team of the week. Liz Watson at wing attack and Erin O'Brien at goal defence. Now, the reason I highlight the 2 of them is they're the only 2 players in the league that have played every single minute of Suncorp Super Netball in 2025. And Erin O'Brien, I think the Giants and, everyone was saying, do you bring in Casey Copperwa when she hasn't played for so many years? But Julie Fitzgerald was adamant. It's about her experience and what she's going to bring. And really, it's all been proven correct when you see how Erin O'Brien continues to perform. And I love her out of goal defence.
You'd have to, think that she'd be knocking on the door for an invitee, potentially to the Diamond squad. It just shows that, that experience behind her, that talk, that communication, just the extra learning she'd be receiving from Casey. Julie Fitzgerald, we all questioned your decision, and you can absolutely put it to rest now because it's been a match winner, to say the very least. Another person you didn't mention in the team of the week was Kate Eddy. she is just the unsung hero in the defensive unit for the Melbourne Vixens. We talk about, what's Alice's job and where does Weston sit, but Kate Eddy every single week, regardless of where she is, whether it's on the wing or in this circle, she finds gained ball, she suffocates her opponent.
Yes.
I think that's the one thing I would take from a Kate Eddy if I was a junior. She does her job first. She nullifies and gets on top of her player before she then goes and finds other ball. I think other young players at times go looking for that ball too early without actually taking care of your opponent. Kate Eddy is the blueprint to how you can obviously shut down but also gain ball and be a winner.
And attack that ball like she did in that second half. She'd already built the pressure. She'd already made them have to work so hard. And as they were starting to fade and get tired, that's when she started flying into the pockets and took some brilliant intercepts. When Vixens obviously got a huge lead at the start, it was 7 unanswered goals before the Mavs even got a score on the board, and then it was just a tug of war from that moment on. Well, that was the OMF overview. Kick back and relax with an adjustable bed from Australian designed and owned OMF. Watch sport your way. Time now for the good oil, thanks to Cobram Estate Australian extra virgin olive oil. Now, of course, a big moment happened at the MCG yesterday. It was Collingwood and the Collingwood and the Melbourne Demons. But it was Liz Watson going down the slide for Fight MND. Now, she went as Barbie, of course, Margot Robbo. Can I get that out correctly? It was Aussie Icons. What did you make of the slide? Who was one of your faves, Mads, that went down?
I loved this theme. I think this is one of the best themes. I mean, look, Barbie, absolutely. We'll back in a netballer any day of the week, but I did really love, I thought, Arnie going down as Sandra Dee from Greece. I was a massive Greece lover as a young girl, so I loved seeing that. And the Joker, I thought Peter Dacos, I was like, how good is that makeup? And I just think everyone goes to such extra lengths.
And Alyssa Healy as Magnus Sebastian, as Sharon Strzelecki.
I wish Liz had been. I think that really would have played into the netball kind. Yeah, but every single one of them, they put on the uniform and they go down that slide and they really create a character, and it's all for a really good cause. So, I sat there on the couch watching it, seeing them all go down. You've been down the slide before, B. Can you give us a little bit of insight of how cold really is it? Because everyone comes out and says, it's taking your breath away.
Yes, it's freezing, way colder than an ice bath. And the fact that you've got to go under and your head goes under too, I think that's where the biggest shock comes from. But what I love now is there is actually a theme. When I did it, there was no theme. It was just like dress up as somebody or something, and you had to then let Beck Danaher, who is always in communication with everybody, know what you're going to go down as, so nobody else would go down as the same thing as you. But overall, and I was talking to Lizzie yesterday and she said the same thing, it's just such a fun day. And as much as we talk about being in a team and being part of a team, that's what it really feels like. You're quite connected to the people that you go down the slide with, and because you have all these nervous moments beforehand, and then such a fun time enjoying the footy with everybody else afterwards as well. And then, you're just always inspired and in tears just seeing Neil Danaher and what he is able to do, the fact that he continues to be able to go after so many years when people thought that he couldn't survive it for this long, and he continues to do that. So the Danahers are just an incredible family to be, associated with on a day like that. So, and the slide is just now become a tradition and such a custom, hasn't it?
An absolute privilege to be asked and to be part of it. But you sit on the side in the grandstands or whatever, and you just go, you know what? Absolutely, why wouldn't you want to get a part of something like this? There was one iconic, Australian. I thought they might have had someone go down as Vegemite or something. I was like, come on, where are they?
Actually, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, anyway,
dressing up it was stressful. I found that really stressful. But that was the good oil, all thanks to Cobram Estate, Australia's most awarded extra virgin olive oil, grown, harvested and first cold pressed in northern Victoria. Maddie, over to you for your minute. What have you got for us this week?
Look, well, I've taken a little bit of inspiration from other codes. Long weekend, plenty of sport on offer, was watching the footy and saw signs being put up. Now, you think, well, but we have a clock in netball, so we're not going to have to show those things. But you know what? Let's cut out the timeouts. Let's have 1.5 per team, really see how they can strategically use it, and let's get the cards up because I want to know what on earth does this actually mean? Have you got anything?
Well, I mean, we were talking about it before, and I think it was very creative that maybe it's like 2-minute noodles, 2 minutes to go.
2-minute warning.
Foot down, let's go. Because, of course, in footy, you're not seeing the clock and how long there is to go.
I get it. I absolutely get it. This is what I want to see in netball. I mean, here's another example. I mean, yes.
Win.
Yeah.
That's quite obvious, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if WIN stands for something different that we don't know about, like a play that they need to go to.
Yeah, but see, this is where I think we can use it in netball. This has thrown me once again, and the Hawks continue to put out weird stuff. I don't know, a dabbing stereo, turn down the volume. I'm really not too sure. So I would love to obviously get people's take on what they think it is, but also what you think we could use in netball. You know, we have diamonds, we have box defense. We see the players, you know, 1s and 2s and 3s. Let's get a bit more creative netball. I want to see some really weird things on the sideline. And I mean, wouldn't it just make your day if you just saw like Nicole Richardson or, you know, Tanya Ops get up in the coach's box and put up the sign? I mean, it would just make my day.
I think that's an excellent suggestion. What a great idea. Let's do it. Netball, let's get creative. Let's get these images out on the bench, because then in commentary as well, it gives us something to decipher and have to try and break down and match what they're doing compared to what symbol goes on. Or
you're unfortunately going to have to leave it to us in commentary to start putting up some things, and then we'll get everyone talking about what is going on in the commentary box. Happy to put up some weird things.
And actually, interesting that you talk about the timeouts, because it's the first time that I've heard at the game we did when we were doing the Vixens and the Mavs that Joe Weston said to Simone McInnes in a timeout, how many timeouts do we have left, knowing that if the super shot became a big factor towards the end of the game, they wanted to be able to halt momentum. So strategically, the teams love it, don't they?
They do, and I have questioned this before, I think, maybe, you know, in a minute, and just going, I get why they use a timeout, but I'd love to hear or see, probably more see, the players have to figure out solutions, be really kind of in tune with like being adaptable in the moment on the clock. I don't want to have to go to a timeout to hear the coach talk to go, yeah, we all know that was what you needed to do.
Play.
Yeah, like, and with rotating subs, you don't have to have a timeout now to make that change. Let's really see the players show how creative they are, show their brilliant brains in being able to read the game and adapt according and make those changes instantly within the moment rather than waiting for a timeout.
Which is when things get interesting in the international side of things, when there isn't all the timeouts that they can call. You really do see, we saw it with the Diamonds, potentially moments where the players really do struggle in that big chunk of time to try and sort it out for themselves.
Yeah, let's not create those players that rely on that. Let's keep kind of coaching and mentoring that thinking.
Well, it's time now for Local Legends, thanks to CRT. Farming starts with CRT. Now, this week we hear from Leonie Berry and Jess Dolling from Mansfield Netball Club. Now, Leonie has played for Mansfield for over 30 years. That's incredible. Has played over 485 games for the club, while Jess is 18 and is one of Mansfield's rising stars. A shout out to Jess's parents who commute her to Melbourne twice a week, which we know our parents had to do it for us. You could never make it as a netballer unless you had the parents driving you every single week to the city. Let's take a listen.
Leonie Berry, Mansfield Football Netball Club, and my position is mid-court, centre, wing attack, but playing some goals at the moment.
Hi, I'm Jess. I'm from Mansfield Football Netball Club as well, and mainly centre, but have been in goals as well. I like to eat a sausage roll.
Well, back in the day, my ritual used to be music and something good to eat. Now it's made up of Voltaren, tape, and Nurofen. All right, I've got to think of it, because I could have several if I'm feeling nice or not. But no.
Jess?
Yeah, basically the same. Best you, bitch face.
My favourite netball position would probably be, I like goal attack, it's fun, but I'm not tall enough, so I'd love mid-court, so I really like centre.
I really like centre because I like to run.
You go first for that one.
I have a toothbrush but no toothpaste.
Random. I've probably got 50 hair ties, I've got calf strapping, I've got an umpire, whistle. I've too much in there. I need to clean it out.
I just love that.
Oh, so honestly, Leonie. Yeah, I reckon after 400 games, I would be going to the Nurofen and the Voltaren straight away as well.
Oh my, and we all love goal attack, let's be honest. We would all play that. Well, that was Local Legends. No matter where you live or what you farm, it starts with CRT. Let's go to the game preview as we look ahead to round 10. One of the biggest games, I think, will be the Melbourne Vixens up against the New South Wales Swifts. Now, remember last time they played, it was the Swifts by 8, but the Vixens really challenged them. They were almost the first team to challenge the Swifts, and it was only a few super shots at the end, thanks to Helen Housby, that blew out that scoreline. Traditional rivals, we know they play a similar game plan, but with Wecky in there and potentially a little bit of a falter from the Swifts against Fever last week. How do you see this game playing out, Matt?
Well, I think the Vixens have really put themselves in a great position to now come up against the Swifts. I think just even on the weekend, coming up against Jock, and we saw Rudy Ellis completely kind of shuffle that around and really show that, you know what, she can be disciplined, she can contest, but she can really kind of stir up a little bit of doubt in the feeders' minds, and we saw Jock obviously have to go to the bench. So I think the defensive unit for the Vixens would be going into this weekend going, you know what, we just need to replicate that, and their penalties were well below where they usually are, only at 56, compared to the Mavs, which were 80, 81.
Yes.
So I think the Vixens have really started to play around with their defensive unit and going, all right, the only way we're going to actually be competitive in this league is if we obviously contest, but we contest cleanly, and that has definitely shown. For me, I think, you know, I can't wait to get there on Sunday and actually ask Bryony Akel, what is the meaning behind all these changes? Because for so long, we've never seen the Swifts really change that much in their lineup. They have a starting 7, they kind of roll with that, maybe 1 or 2. But in quarters, we're seeing nearly up to 8, 10, 12 changes from the Swifts. So, you know, where is that coming from? Why is that potentially happening? So, yeah, I think this is a really good contest for both of them. Defensively for the Swifts, once again, they had to change around a lot, and I do think on the weekend that was probably the best we've seen the Vixens attack end.
Yes,
they absorbed
agreed.
a bit of heat, they absorbed a bit of a momentum shift from the Mavericks, so I think they'll be going in with lots of confidence. And to be honest, the Vixens, I think just even the fact they're sitting in the top 4 for the first time in a long time, I think that will just potentially be the boost they need to go, you know what? We aren't that far away from the top, and we are coming. And really, majority of the time in seasons, the Vixens start off really well and then tend to fade out. They haven't had the greatest start to obviously this season. Maybe it's the topsy-turvy and they're starting to build, which is the perfect time to really build into this season.
That's right. Plenty of people have ridden off the Vixens, didn't think they'd crack into that top 4, but a slip up from the Thunderbirds means they're now in. And what can they do with that? And keep an eye out. The matchup between Weston and Housby is always one to keep your eye on, because they can, if both players are performing, cancel each other out in a way, because Weston just tags Housby the entire game. I think last time we interviewed Housby on Pivot, and she had to sit down after the game during the interview because she was that exhausted from the pressure that she'd just got from Joe Weston. So watch out for that matchup.
The other thing to mention, though, that you spoke about the last time they won, it was on some super shots by Housby. I think on the weekend, Fever showed how you can absolutely nullify Housby in that power 5, and Swifts don't have the other threat or the other option. Will we see a Sophie Fawns come into the mix this time? Will they rotate that 11th player?
I actually think they have to. I reckon that really highlighted they needed somebody else to be able to go into the circle. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that switch up of Grace White possibly stepping out and Sophie Fawns in. What do you all think? Do you think that's exactly how it might play out? But I'm going to note down your question to Bryony. I'm interviewing her pre-game on Sunday, and I'll make sure I ask her for you. All right, it's time now for our Struddy's Social Scoop. Struddy's netball apparel designed for the next generation of superstars. Style meets performance at struddys.com.au. Now, this week we have a question from Sandra Madi, and Sandra wants to know, with the Vixens breaking the home crowd record on the weekend at John Cain Arena, was packed out. They've got plenty of members now that are taking all of the seats. There's hardly any available for general admission. Is it time now to move to Rod Laver Arena? As we know, the grand final, Rod Laver Arena this year. Do do you think it's time for the Vixens to move over to that stadium?
Potentially. I think why not? I mean, if throughout the season they're really struggling to find those extra seats and they've got people that are wanting them, then why not move to a different venue? It's not like you have to go across the other side of the city to get there. You know, like transport, everything else is very much the same. It's just, you know, another step across. So I know when we were playing, obviously we'd have some Australian Test matches.
And even
at
some
John
finals,
Cain.
didn't we? We used to have at Rod Laver as well.
And then we'd go to Rod Laver and you'd be like, oh my goodness, this really feels like the rock star moment. Let's bring in the bigger crowds, make them really vocal. Absolutely. Maybe not all games, but maybe some of those blockbusters where they know that there's that real, you know, crosstown rivals, the derbies, but even with New South Wales, that history that's behind obviously those two teams, you know, maybe those games will go there for the future and then they can slowly have a whole season there.
Yep.
Why not?
Totally agree. You just start the transition now and maybe, you know, next season and the year after that, the Mavericks own JCA and the Vixens can own Rod Laver Arena. Wouldn't that be great to see the crowds continuing to grow? We're just loving it. Well, that was another episode of Centre Court. A big thank you to OMF, Watch Sport Your Way, and Cobram Estate Australian Extra Virgin Olive Oil. Thanks to you, Maddie, and a big thank you to all of you. Send in your questions for our social scoop and we'll get to them next week, and hopefully we start seeing some more of those signs around rather than all the time out.
Yes.
At Maddie's request. Enjoy everything that's going on in round 10 and we'll see you next week.